Good afternoon. Yeah, on to another edition of Import Export Platform brought to you by 3 Best Trade Academy. And today we are discussing part 5 of why you need to join the export team. Part 5 of why you need to join the export team. By the way, the National Bureau of Statistics have released the data for 2018 export volume, import and export volume from Nigeria in 2018. And it might interest you to know that non-oil export is still less than 5% of total export from Nigeria. Non-oil export is less than 5%, about 62 billion worth of goods. About $62 billion worth of goods were exported from Nigeria, and non-oil export is much less than about 4.6% actually. About 4.6%. So we are really not there as far as export is concerned. We are still largely monocultural economy. Raf Abiodun, thank you very much for joining. Good afternoon. Uche Chukwazi, thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon and welcome. We are still number one, largely exporting commodities, agri-commodities, largely. That's what we are still exporting. Not just the fact that we are largely exporting commodities, we are over-dependent on oil. This has been on for many years. So many talks around this every year. But what I've not seen is cohesive effort to be able to galvanize SMEs to be able to ensure that this is done, because that means the way we are right now, if price of oil drop further and there's restiveness in Niger Delta and there is and we're not able to sell to India, who we have been selling to as much as we should, then we might face another recession. We faced it once, but you know what? It seems I've not learned the lesson. Atai Michael, thank you very much for joining. Good afternoon. Olayiwola Abiodun, thank you very much for joining. Good afternoon. You're welcome. So we are still discussing why you need to join the export team, and I'm just basically reporting the newly released report of the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that shows that non-oil export is still very much low in Nigeria. Very low, and I mean very low. Non-oil export is still very low and lower than 5% of total export in 2018. It has always been low. Only that the report that was released, I think it was on Friday evening, just re-emphasized the fact that it's still very low. And our major export is still crude, followed by gas, followed by sesame seed, and followed by cocoa beans. Followed by gas, followed by sesame seed, followed by cocoa beans. By the way, petroleum, crude oil constitute about 84%, natural gas constitute about 9%, about 10% rather. Other petroleum gases constitute about 1%, sesame seed about 0.6%, fermented cocoa bean about 0.49%. So like I said, we are still largely dependent on one commodity, and agri as usual take a good chunk, followed by minerals as usual. So basically, we have really not the reports that was just being released for me is further emphasizing why the call I've been making this part 5 of why you need to join the export team. It's just further emphasizing why that call is highly imperative. Our major export is still crude, and of course mainly going to India, and then Spain, and then France, of course South Africa and Netherlands. These are our major trading partner last year. And the majorly traded agricultural product was sesame seed, fermented cocoa beans, raw cocoa beans, cashew nuts, are the top treated agro commodity item that we exported. Crude export constitute about 58.4% and import constitute about 41.6%. So we are still good in terms of balance of trade, in the sense that we are at least exporting more than we are importing, which make a lot of sense. But like I said, where the challenge is what really are we exporting, and what is the major foreign exchange earner for Nigeria. And if you continue on that road, where does it lead us? Does it lead us to the right destination, or it lead us to And in the export that was done, I'm trying to get some of the figure out. Total export was about total export for quarter 4 was about 8.61 trillion, but total export for the year 2018 was about 32.26 trillion. 32.326 trillion. That's it. Sorry, I missed that. Total export was 5.02 trillion for quarter 4. And total export for the year 2018 was 19.09 trillion. Total export 19.09 trillion. Total export 19.09 trillion. Out of the 19, crude constitute 15.72%. Gas constitute about 3.38. Crude constitute about 15.7 trillion. Gas constitute about 3.38 trillion, and non-oil constitute about 1.19 trillion. And that is basically saying that crude is 82%, non-oil is 6.2%. Non-oil for the year is 6.2%. Crude is 82%. Total export is 59.2%. And then non-oil is 6.2%. But the last quarter, non-oil was 4.6%. But overall for the year 2018 was 6.2%. So we're really not there as far as export is concerned. Number one, we are still depending largely on crude and gases, crude oil products generally, or the oil and gas sector generally, but depending largely on that, and only on one or two products. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, we are still doing less than 10% in terms of non-oil export. Any nation that you can see that must stabilize, that have enough forex, that don't get shaking and afraid when there is oil price issue, those are the countries that depend largely not on oil but on non-oil. So if Nigeria is doing 6.2% total non-oil for the year, then that's not good enough. That's not good enough. This is why I'm saying we need to contribute our own quota to the growth of non-oil exports in Nigeria. Olaiwola Abiodun, thank you very much for joining. Fabelurin Omolabake, thank you very much for joining. Bayode Andrew Komalafe, thank you very much for joining. Good afternoon. So we're continuing our discussion on why you need to join the export team. And in joining the export team does not mean you need to physically export. You can render support services. And of course, you can export services instead of exporting goods. You can export services and you can render support services. You can export services and you can render support services. We started discussing this a while ago, and we're on part 5 today, and I'll be looking at one of the reasons why you need to join the export team is one of them this today is farming and rural life become more lucrative. Farming and rural life become more lucrative. Farming and rural life. By farming I mean agriculture, and rural life become more lucrative. Remember, I talked about the fact that the reason why we need to join this team is to avoid AIDS and the manipulation that comes with it from the West, to boost the foreign reserve, to create opportunity for SME to grow, to decrease dependence on domestic market, to extend the product life cycle, to enhance production and increase excess capacity utilization. Excess capacity utilization. Today we are looking at farming. You know, our major export is farming. From the data I just showed you, our major export is farming. Farming, agri constitutes a good chunk of the item we export from Nigeria. Our major export is farming. Now, what that means basically is that, our major export is agricultural product rather. What that means basically is that if we grow export, even if it's agri that we decide to focus on and not just oil alone, then we have an advantage. Why? Because one of our major items of export from Nigeria is agri. It's agri product. So we really cannot do away with agri, only that we can begin to also work beyond just exporting agri, commodity which I have described as modern slavery, and begin to export value added product. Value added product. Sesame seed, 2018, shipment was about 33 billion naira. Cocoa, about 35 billion naira. Cashew nut, about 6 billion naira. Sesame oil, about 4 billion naira. Cashew nut is about 1.6 billion naira. Coconut is about 1.28 billion naira. So we are waking up to the reality of exporting coconut, and I think that's interesting. Now, value added products have not been doing so well. Why? Because of the fact that we have not woken up to the need for value addition. People that are exporting, that know the value or what they could derive if they have value to their product, will like to add value to their product. Not those that are exporting just to make money, but those that are exporting to build a business. And I mean a very enduring business. Farming become more lucrative and rural life become more lucrative when going to export. Why do we need this to happen? Farming is hiring a lot of people in Nigeria, agricultural sector. A good chunk of labor force are into one form of agriculture or the other. If this is sustained, that's an advantage for us. Why? Because export demand can constitute that sustenance. So we need to keep farming to produce raw materials, but more importantly, we need to begin to add value to it. But what I'm even saying is that because a good chunk of our export is agri, when you export, you create jobs. When you export, you create jobs. When you export, you create jobs. Why? Because a lot of people that are going to be farming the product will have to be hired. A lot of people that are going to be farming the product will have to be hired, and that creates job in the rural area. And that makes farming become more lucrative because if there is huge demand, of course the price goes up, and farming become very, very much lucrative. So you need to export to join the export team rather, in order to be able to make farming and rural life more lucrative. By rural life I mean there's a huge rural-urban migration in Nigeria, but this can be significantly reduced if those that are in the rural area are able to find jobs as a result of increased farming activity, and not to come to Lagos and be pushing wheelbarrow just because they are unable to farm. I met someone some times ago. He was from the Benue and he was pushing wheelbarrow in Lagos selling phone parts. And I said, "Why are you doing this?" And he said he had to run away from Benue because his farm were destroyed by the Fulani herdsmen and their life became threatened. And he has to run away from the village. And he came to Lagos. And he came to Lagos. And the population keep increasing in Lagos, and the pressure keep increasing on infrastructure because of rural-urban migration. Because of rural-urban migration. Number 2, gain global market share. Gain global market share. You know, when I started this discussion, I said we must all go global. We must think global. We can't sit down and allow the mediocrity of our environment to determine the way our life will be. If you're a business person, whatever it is you do, always be global in your thinking. Wherever you are in the world, be global in your thinking. So whatever it is you have achieved or done in your space, if it's done outside your space, what would be most of the things that you do, rather, as an accountant, let me be more specific. As an accountant, as a lawyer, like I said 2 days ago, if you do it, you can actually do it outside Nigeria. You can render support services outside Nigeria. And I said you can export your services. And service export is becoming a big thing. In fact, the government is taking it serious now because they are working on a form to be able to ensure that is recorded. So that we can do a lot of export of services. And we are already doing it anyway. Only that it's not being documented and recorded. And now it's being documented. I'm hoping the form will come out later in the year, and then we'll be able to know exactly how the regulation around export of services will go. But as it is today, we do not have that. But you can easily contribute your own quota and join the export team by first acquiring skill. And I keep emphasizing the need for skill. Every day, we have to do some free seminars, just the way we are doing on Facebook, for bankers, to empower them to be able to render support services to exporters. Those support services we're talking about are the one we are saying individuals who are consultants can actually be part of. And we discussed extensively on how lawyers can do this. And we've talked extensively on how accountants can do this. And how different professions can come in according to the growth of export in Nigeria. Why you need to join the export team. Farming becomes very lucrative because of increase in demand. Not just very lucrative, we are able to also produce raw materials for those that want to export finished product or processed goods. So the demand on the farmers make it be more lucrative, because now people want to buy their product, and a number of them have issues because sometimes they will farm this item this year, the demand is low. They farm that item last year. They keep running in cycle between different products at different year to see which one will be in good demand or which one you'll be interested in. Farming become lucrative, rural life become more lucrative. Why do you want to come to Lagos and just suffer when there are opportunities in the village and there is demand for product that you can plant in your village? Especially for those close to Lagos. Especially for those close to Lagos, Ogun State and the like. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that farming and rural life become more lucrative when we join export, because a good chunk of our export is agric. Then, like second one I talked about was the fact that we gain global market share. We gain global market share in that product. So the question you're asking yourself is, which product do we want to export? How many people in the world export this product? You know, some products are just very great products that create huge opportunity in this environment. That if you found out those products, you can actually begin to export those products. You don't necessarily have to be the manufacturer of the product. I've said this severally. I've said it repeatedly. You don't need to be the manufacturer of the product. You just need to know where to get the product and take it to any regulatory agency to ensure that at the end of the day, the regulatory agency do what they have to do. And then you can package that product if it's food item. If it's not food item, then you don't need a lot of regulatory issues. But if it's food item, of course, NAFDAC could be involved, even though you are produced through someone else. NAFDAC needs to certify the things you are sending out that is good enough for consumption. And I think that's just good enough to help you also so that your good will not be destroyed when it gets to destination. So basically, I'm saying we need to gain global market share because that gives us relevance in the marketplace. That gives us respect in the marketplace. That helps us to be able to do what we need to do. Why? Because now we are respected among the community of nations as a result of the value we are creating and adding to the export space. A number of products leave Nigeria because they are commodity, they go into other countries and they add value to them. And when you see on the body, you only see that this product is from, there's an example I have, it's called sesame seed. Sesame seed is tiny, tiny white seed on hamburger. I bought a sesame biscuit in the UK. Rice on it was made in Poland rather. But that sesame seed, the people in the Polish people, a number of them import sesame seed from Nigeria. And then they process it. And then, of course, they export it as sesame biscuit, and I bought it and brought it back to Nigeria. But we could have been the one exporting that thing directly. Edema Emmanuel Uluwatu, thank you very much for joining. So, gaining global relevance, very, very important. Very, very important. Very, very important. And we can't get global relevance. We can't get global market share if we are not exporting as it is today. Our exports are not the serious one because it's crude, it's commodities. But for us, we'll begin to get seriously serious about export when we begin to export value-added products, manufactured products, finished goods. Value-added product, manufactured products, finished goods. As long as we remain with commodity, we are basically exporting jobs and importing poverty. If the unit we export is crude, if the unit we export is raw material, if the unit we export is commodity, then it's not a good way for us to go. So I'll run through it again so I will know where we stop before I round off. I'm still talking about why you need to join the export team. Number one, avoid the manipulation that comes with it from the West. Boost Nigerian foreign reserve. Create opportunity for SME to grow. Decrease dependence on domestic market. Extension of product life cycle. Enhancement of production. Extend your product life cycle, enhancement of production, utilization of excess capacity, farming and rural life become more lucrative, gaining global market share. I'll continue in the evening as we talk more about the reason why I am of the opinion that we all need to join hands together to be a part of the export team. And if you are thinking, how do I become part of the export team? Basically, you render support services. And to render support services, you get yourself trained. And there are different training programs you can subscribe to. There's one I've been talking about on this show for a while now, and that's the Executive Diploma in Export Business Management and the Executive Diploma in Export Trade Finance from the American Institute of Extended Studies. And this program will be able to equip you with skill to be able to either export the product or service yourself, or more importantly, render support services. Render support services. Render support services. Thank you very much for listening again. My name is Mendele Ayimibo. I'll be up again in the evening by 8 p.m. Nigerian time. 8 p.m. Nigerian time. This is Import Export Import Export platform brought to you by 3D Impest Trade Academy. See you in the evening and have a good weekend.